r/Reddit. What's your biggest regret from your teenage years? I spent so much time waiting for something to happen. Like sitting on some steps outside of a house waiting for something to happen. Hanging out with people I did not really like waiting for something to happen. I feel like so much time was wasted waiting for something to happen, instead of doing something or making things happen. So determined to impress my classmates that I would stretch the truth so I could brag about myself. Now I realize most of them saw through it. If I could only go back, I would slap some duct tape across younger me's mouth. I wish that I had taken mom up on her offer to teach me how to cook during those teenage years. It would have been so helpful, both during college and beyond. It was a missed opportunity because she's a great cook and a natural teacher. When I was 14, I poured ketchup on our back porch and laid down with my head next to it right as my mom came home from work. She came outside screaming and I laughed. She beat me with her shoe and I was grounded for the weekend. Now that I'm a parent, I realize what a real stupid freaking move it was and the terror she felt. Cowardice. I was so unsure of myself and awkward. I know that all teenagers struggle with this, but as I look back now from my 40s, that kid in high school had so much going for him, he just didn't know it. The more he cared about fitting in, the less he fit in, and the worse people treated him. Girls were like an alien species and the future was terrifying. But it didn't have to be. Still a teen, but I wish I focused less on isolating myself early on in high school and being a loner with a me versus them mentality. I've stunted myself socially and dug myself into a hole. To be fair, a lot of it stemmed from mental health issues and unresolved trauma, but I was also stubborn as hell and waited way too long to seek help and grow past all of it. Honestly, being more proactive on my education, I could have gotten a scholarship, but I thought getting scholarships were pathetic and was so prideful about it. I didn't know shit back then, but I'm kicking myself now with so much money I put in when I look at my 1098T tuition forms for the government. I wish I had taken more risks. I worried about getting in trouble too much. I missed out on some fun because of that, and tried to play catch up when I was 19, which led to me going a bit too hard through my 20s. I'm okay now, successful and doing well. But there's lots of things I did in my 20s that I might not have done had I got it out of my system in my teens. I'm just lucky things turned out okay for me. 31 now. Oh man, I have so many. Allowing my abusive stepmother to isolate me from the other side of my family. Acting like a psycho, nice guy to the girl I had a crush on. Staying in an unhealthy relationship for a couple years too long. Hiding on my computer all day instead of being social. Not coming out and transitioning earlier even though I knew I should. My teen years really sucked, and I got so depressed over my parents telling me they were the best years of my life. I'm 30 now and life is 1000x better. Not teen, but I was 9 in a new country. I got lost coming out of a shopping mall and ended up by a busy highway intersection. There was a pedestrian tunnel under the road, and as I approached it I heard a girl screaming and a guy yelling, shut up, and looking back she was definitely getting raped. I was already scared because I was lost and I looked to the road and cars were zooming by. I knew I should help, but there was no one around and it took me an hour and a half to walk home, as I'd spent my money for the bus. Poor girl, I can still hear it all vividly, and I would like to go back and be able to do something. Even if I'd just screamed into the tunnel he probably would have split. I didn't do anything interesting. I went to the smart person school, did my extracurricular shit, let my parents, mostly my mom, bully me into doing the whole Eagle Scout garbage, and hated my entire time there. Ended up going off to college and didn't know how to set boundaries, wound up being incessantly harassed by a gay guy that tried to get me drunk and feel me up regularly, so I dreaded going out anywhere on campus because he was always find me and attach himself to me. Having some independence now is great, aside from the crushing sense of loneliness all the time. On the bright side, since then I've started doing shit like going to concerts, getting tattoos. Currently I'm having a good time with the new motorcycle I've got, and I've got a job I actually like, but I feel like I wasted a lot of time trying to accomplish a bunch of shit and it ended up being pointless and I just hated it. I didn't take my academics seriously. High school was easy and I could get by on not doing what I didn't want to. I chose a major I liked and had no idea what I'd do with it, how much money I was missing out on. Well, turns out when your while grade is based on 4 tests and a paper you can't really get picky on what work you wanna do and how much you feel like studying. It was a huge kick in the balls. Working too much. Had a job ever since I was 14 years old. I didn't need the money since I still lived with my parents, but I worked my butt off. Definitely made money, but I feel like I sacrificed being a normal high schooler. I don't really remember doing much of anything fun in high school, and I always felt left out of stuff because I couldn't go anywhere with my friends because I was working. It got to the point where they stopped inviting me to stuff because they would just say, "Oh, he's probably working." I find it funny that a lot of people are saying that they had too much fun and should have worked harder when my situation is the exact opposite. I'm in my early 20s, so maybe I'll appreciate all my working later in life? Being the secret side piece for the popular guy in high school. I was an outcast and didn't have a lot of friends. He was the star football player and everyone wanted to be him. He was in my algebra class. He asked for my number on a note. I was super naive. He only ever wanted sex. We would either meet up somewhere at night or he'd come to my house when my mother wasn't home. We would quickly do it and then he quickly leave. And then he would pretend he didn't know me at school. Worst decision ever. I was in marching band in high school, and a damn good one that was nationally ranked and internationally recognized. I had a great time and have made memories I wouldn't trade for the world, and met a girl that I love and am still dating to this day. I wouldn't say I regret doing it because of my lifelong friends and my girlfriend, but it took up like all of my time, and I never really got to figure out who I was outside of music until recently when I started boxing and getting to know myself a bit better. Staying in an abusive relationship because I was determined we could be the high school couple who stayed together forever. Wasted so many years and almost got caught in the cycle of abuse in the process. It took me so goddamn long to get where I am now, but the flip side is that I'm now with someone who knows my flaws and still cherishes me in spite of them. As much as I wish I had left sooner, I wouldn't change a thing if it meant I wouldn't be with my current so now. Current teen right now, and what I want is to lose weight and keep it off. I'm 180 pounds right now, and I just want to be healthy. Luckily, I'm about to start my semester of physical education, so I can learn some healthy ways of working out. It's going to take a long time, but I just want to get the weight off now when it will be easier. I never finished high school. It wasn't an option for me back then since my mom kicked me out and I had to move in with a friend who lived in a different city. Back then, in order to enroll in school, I had to have a parent sign off on things and they refused. I'm basically unemployable these days because of it. I've thought about enrolling in adult education classes, but I'm nervous and embarrassed to be honest. I wish I'd given people a chance. I had a rough time at first. I was small and dudes would pick on me. Later I got tall, and developed muscles. But I was still under the impression that my fellow teens were going to hurt me. Girls would follow me, I assumed, because they wanted to make fun of me. I assumed cool guys were desperate to be mean to me and my nerdy friends, so I'd make fun of them until they ran off. There is a class one seriously thought about dropping because the teacher was harassing me and other students. I ultimately didn't, which is what I regret because that teacher mentally tortured us, to a very bad point, and screwed us in all consecutive classes on that same subject that we had to take the following years. The breakup with my high school boyfriend went really bad. I loved him so much, but we weren't good for each other anymore and had to end. I did everything I could for it to be okay, but it still ended up devastating him and we could never actually be friends, even as adults years later, and that still kills me because I liked him so much as a person. I don't know what we could have done differently, but I regret how badly we ended and still mourn the loss of the friendship we maybe could have had. A lot of my teenage years sucked, but my only true regret was going to my safety college, which was expensive and terrible and in a town I freaking hated, just to preserve a relationship that blew up immediately anyway the second I got there. Everything eventually worked out fine, but I lost 2 full years minus 3 if you count the gap working year I had to take to pay off my debt and clear my transcripts that should have been an adventure and instead was spent trudging between study, work and bed. The one subsequent relationship I had during those 2 years, with a pair of roommates, long story, is included in this regret. My biggest regret is not preparing for future stages in life. I only wanted to have fun and did not care to sit down and plan ahead for my future, short and long-term changes alike. I am still a teen, soon to be 17, but strongly believe that if I had prepared little by little starting from 13, which was shortly before a huge turning point in my life, I would not be in this downward spiral. I am not trying to sound unnecessarily pessimistic, but really my naiveness could have been avoided. I regret not giving myself more credit. I spent a lot of time thinking the best things were for other people who weren't me. On one hand, it made me very appreciative when some of those best things shook out in my direction, i.e. being named an all-conference basketball player. On the other hand, I probably didn't explore as many next-level possibilities as I could have. I didn't actively pursue playing college basketball, didn't think I'd be good enough for any team, even when recruited. I only applied to safe schools, didn't want to get rejected, and I assumed the super cute girl who was so obviously into me was actually just really friendly and acted like that toward everyone. Of course, going through those moments helped me land where I am today and aided in my growth as a human, so it's tough to say regret while also acknowledging those shortcomings may have been necessary. I should have called my great-grandparents more often. I shouldn't have gotten that shitty haircut, let alone diet. I should have been more productive in school. I shouldn't have tried to enlist. I should have gotten over my fears and gotten my driver's license. I shouldn't have put off getting a therapist. I have so much regret for so many reasons. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We upload videos almost daily.